this is John Cullen with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. Today I'm here in South Florida. I forget where I'm, like Loxahatchee somewheres. And I'm here to show you guys an amazing property. This is 5 acres in Loxahatchee. The guy has done tons of work. He's been here about 4 years, and this is the result of 4 years of basically working in his part-time. He basically works at home as a software engineer. On his breaks, he'll come out and plant a tree, and after work from 6 o'clock to 1 a.m. sometimes, he'd be digging holes and planting fruit trees in his yard so he could have 1,500 different varieties of fruit trees. And he has like probably over 3,000 different, the trees planted plus baby plants, because he spent like $50,000 on large greenhouses that they normally have in big nurseries, so that he could expand his personal collection and grow ultra rare things that are just not known to grow in Florida, such as durian and even mangosteen, that can be quite challenging. So he set up all this amazing infrastructure, and he's even designed this like a little park. Like, I'd love to have a house like this one day with acreage, and he has like a little track around it, and hope maybe one day he'll have like tours and things and have a eco kind of tourism property. Of course, outside the property line, he has some dwarf coconut trees, so they're nice and small. They stay small so you can harvest them. He also has got the Monstera deliciosa. But yeah, we're not even going to spend time outside his fence. We're going to go inside and show you guys how amazing this place is. All right, so this is what it looks like when you enter, guys. Like, there's a little pond here, and it's actually quite big. He's got like a couple boats in there, including a pedal boat that you could work. And he's got all his fruit trees, and he put this path in that like literally leads around his property. It's like a whole track. I used to go to like this lake called Stowe Lake in San Francisco and walk around it. And it's, probably that was a little bit longer, but this is amazing to walk around the track, and he's like, oh, this is this, this is this, this is this. This guy has so many fruit trees. I don't want to take you guys around and just make you guys bored and say, oh, this is this, this is this. The thing that I want to point out is that this guy has a lot of different varieties of trees, and to him, it's like a challenge, right? It kind of became his hobby. He never meant to like plant all these fruit trees, but he planted one mango tree. Then he's like, oh, you can't plant mangosteen, but you could plant this other thing. And then he got that, then he started, and then he just hasn't stopped. So what I want to do is actually, I want to highlight just some really cool fruit trees that I like on my walk around. And then I want to show you guys actually his greenhouse. And that's really what is making this place fun, because that really makes it abnormal for somebody to grow, durians and mangosteens, that he's going to hopefully soon have them to be flowering and maybe even potentially fruiting here in Florida through all the different techniques he does. So I guess maybe we'll hit out a couple fruit trees real quick, and then we'll head in the greenhouse. All right, so we are here in June, and so there's a bunch of different fruit trees in June that are actually producing fruit. One of my favorites that I've had on this trip is this guy right here. These are called Grumichamas. And these are a nice purple fruit. So you guys know me, I love the purple fruits. They're rich in anthocyanins. They're nice and small. They have a really good flavor. Absolutely delicious. And you guys can see these trees are less than 4 years old, and some of these are like, look at this tree over here. He has different varieties of the Grumichama. All right, so to let you guys know, these are also known as Brazilian cherries. So they are, not related to the regular cherry, and they're in the Eugenia family. This thing is loaded with fruits. They look like little cherries. I'll call these like cherries of Florida, because you can't grow traditional cherries here. You guys live in Florida, you definitely want to get a Grumichama. They got this color, and they also got a more like rare color, the orange or yellowish color. All right, another tree that's fruiting right now that's doing really good that I've eaten a lot in Hawaii. These are known as the wax jambus. So you guys can see this is like the wax jambu on this when they're ripe, or like a yellowish color. You guys can see, look at this. This is how productive this wax jambu tree is here. It's just littered. He can't even eat them all. These would be great for juice. And this is my more favorite one over on this side. You guys can see the color. They're kind of like more reddish. There you go. This is what they look like. On the inside, they're really kind of fun. This is like a texture of like an apple. It's really soft and nice and watery. Not too sweet, but yeah, good flavor. Grows really well. Once again, 4 years old. This tree is like pushing at least almost 20 feet tall. All right, check this out, guys. This is unique. I mean, this is Langsat. I mean, I've seen these in Hawaii, but we got to remember, we're in Florida. We're not in Hawaii. This can be very difficult to grow here. It's an ultra tropical tree, but look at his tree. I mean, it's maybe like 12 feet tall. Now, he has a secret. The secret is, of course, amending the soil, which we'll talk about in a minute, but also he sprays on it liquid kelp and potassium silicate. and that actually helps protect the trees. Now, yes, it did defoliate during the winter time, but look at this, it's coming back. We're here in June, has a lot of nice top growth. And let's not forget, right, one of the ways you're gonna be successful versus succeeding versus failing is using organic methods to grow your trees, right? We wanna give them good nutrients, a wide spectrum nutrients, not just that NPK fertilizer. So to plant this, the ultra tropicals, what he does is he digs a hole 3 to 4 times the width of the pot that he's transplanting into, 3 or 4 times. He only digs it a little bit deeper than the pot, and then he'll fill the bottom up with some manure and azomite, or trace minerals, rock dust minerals, which are very important. He then will put the tree inside, and then he'll fill the surrounding area with a good acidic pine soil mix. And that kind of helps, it gives us some acidity, and that's what some of these tropical fruit trees like. They like a little bit more of an acid soil than the soil pH here in Florida, which, you know, is mostly in most places like sand. And then, of course, he also then, on top of that, he mulches with some, you know, local zoo manure that he's getting, and some, you know, just mulch, ground up like trees and whatnot. And then, of course, he's planting above grade. He plants like 3 to 4 inches above grade every plant that goes in, so that you get better aeration to the roots. So there's many things we can learn from Bobby on his technique so that he can be this successful growing even some of the most ultra tropical, difficult fruit trees to grow in Florida, here in Florida, successfully. All right, so another cool tree that I think is cool, but if you live in Hawaii, you're gonna think it's uncool, because actually in Hawaii, this is actually a weed and it grows too much and it's invasive. But here in Florida, it's ultra cool because it basically grows these big leaves. And the other thing it grows is these crazy fruits. Look at these fruits. These fruits look like little tentacles right here. Like they're gonna get you. And when they're ripe, they look like this. This is such a trippy fruit, right? This is a fruit for Halloween. Look at that. It's gonna get you. Ah! This is so trippy. And then on these Cecropias, what you do is you can just eat these. Mmm. So it's mildly sweet, has a good flavor. You know, it reminds me of eating like mulberries, because it's like nice and like, I mean, it's just so soft and tender and juicy. Like, I really like just how they look. They're just like, you can make dancing puppets. Cecropia, yeah, weed in Hawaii, but amazing to grow in Florida. And this thing grows so fast, guys. This was like a 4-year-old tree, and I'm gonna back up a little bit and show you guys how tall it is. You guys can see this tree is like 20 feet tall, and like, to me, it looks quite ornamental. Really nice looking tree. And make some delicious dancing fruit you guys could eat. All right, the next tree I want to show you guys, actually, that is quite unusual to see here in Florida, and probably the first time I've ever seen it in my life. This is the bell fruit, and this actually has some nice spikes on it. You guys can see it's flowering over here, and he's got a few random fruit up there that we can't really reach. But yeah, the bell fruit, I guess if you're Indian, you'll know what that is. I don't really know what it is, so maybe you might want to try it. But yes, it's possible to grow in Florida. All right, another tree he's got that I like that's, you know, definitely more common here in Florida is the Noni, and I really like his Noni. It's really quite young, has a lot of leaf growth, but it doesn't yet have the fruits on there. Noni's like the stinky fruit, right? Normally you ferment it, you eat it. You could also eat it fresh. But the cool thing is you could also use the leaves. I went to a Noni farm in Hawaii, link down below to that video. But I just like to pick the young, tender, young Noni leaves, just like this, like the little baby leaves as they emerge, and just eat it like lettuce. To me, this reminds you of like when lettuce has the sap and they're bolting. It reminds you of eating little like lettuce that's bolting, that's stronger. It's quite good, and more importantly, it's quite medicinal. There are many different phytonutrients and bioactive compounds in here that can prevent disease according to published studies. I encourage you guys, if you live in Florida, to grow some Noni, not only for the fruit, but also the leaves. They're good. So I want to show you guys this tree here. A lot of you guys may think, oh, that's really common, John. That's like a jackfruit that's on the tree, right? So you may think it looks like a jackfruit, and you know, you would kind of be right, half right anyways, because this is called a Chempejack. It's basically a cross between jackfruit and cempedak, which actually he is growing in his greenhouse. The cempedak is an ultra tropical, won't make it outside. The jackfruit will make it outside, so he's growing many different crosses of the cempedak and jackfruit, which is Chempejack, which is right here. The way to know when these are ripe is, number one, by smell, and also checking to see how soft they are. All right, so one of the amazing things is now he just doesn't have like one of the different kinds of trees. He'll have like 150 kinds of varieties of different anonas. These are things like the sugar apple and the tremoya. And I'm going to show you guys one over here. All right, guys, so check this out. This is an alama, and this is actually in the family of tremoya. And look at this, man. It's nice and red. It's not quite ripe yet. I wish it was ripe because I'd be eating it. But the most important thing is, you know, some of these trees are ultra tropical and ultra rare, and they're actually ultra delicious to the wildlife, such as birds. So he has to protect these from birds and other wildlife. And one of the easiest ways to do that is with these little net bags. So you just basically will net this up so that the birds and other creatures can't get it until it fully ripens up, and then he could harvest it and get to eat his own fruit off his tree, especially like this tree this year only produced one fruit. So he definitely wants to eat it. So protect what's important to you, including your fruit. All right, so he also has lots of different kinds of mangoes, and his mango collection in the scope of things is not that impressive because mangoes are easy to grow here in South Florida, and many people have mangoes. Of course, he does have 150 varieties of different mangoes here planted fairly close together. This happens to be one of my favorite kinds. This is the lemon meringue mango. I'll have probably another video coming up soon, so click that subscribe button, specifically going into some of the crazy varieties of mangoes that you can grow here in Florida and have them, you know, ripe for several months throughout the season. That's one of the reasons why he grows many different varieties of fruit trees. Some will do better than others. Some will produce a lot, some will produce a little. They have different flavors. Some will be ready earlier in the season, some will be ready later in the season. And that's why I want you guys to grow a diversity of different fruits and vegetables so you guys could, you know, if one tree doesn't do good, you're gonna be eating off another one. So you're always gonna be eating some fruit. All right, so you guys can see in this area, he's got some pots, and his wife does the herb and vegetable garden. So they got some different kind of, you know, peppers and tomatoes and some other different Vietnamese herbs. And I would encourage you guys, you know, as much as this video is focused on fruit, I want you guys to grow some perennial vegetables, right? People say, oh, you can't grow vegetables in Florida in the summertime, it's too hot. The fact of the matter is, if you pick the right vegetables from Southeast Asia, like you pick the trees from Southeast Asia, they're gonna grow great here. And it's unfortunate to me that most people just like take the summer off from growing vegetables. So I want you guys watching this to grow more vegetables, and I want to show you guys actually some of my favorite perennial vegetables he's growing here. All right, so this is my favorite vegetable I want you guys to grow in the summertime. It is called Katuk. Grows easily here. You guys can see this tree or shrub is basically almost like 5 feet tall. And my favorite, you could just eat the leaves. So my favorite thing is to do is just come here and just strip the leaves off, all the leaves, and you can just take them and eat them. They're nice and delicious. My friend says they taste like peanut butter. Now my favorite thing to do is not just the leaves, but I love to harvest the tops. So you could come to the top and bend it, and it's nice and bendable and flexible. You come down a little bit until it gets more firm. You come up a little bit and snap it. Now you can eat the stems. I call this like a tropical asparagus. The stems are nice and tender, and the baby leaves are even more delicious than the more mature ones. Let's not forget another amazing vegetable I want you guys to grow is the chaya. I grow the chaya in Las Vegas. Actually, it defoliates in the winter and will come back in the spring. But the chaya is another amazing green you can eat, but you don't want to eat it raw. You want to cook it before eating to reduce the cyanide content. All right, of course, in Florida, bananas are quite common. This is a pisang Ceylon right here. Look at this. Ripe bananas. I don't think I've ever had this variety. And it's ripened on the plant itself. Bananas are not a tree technically. They're herbaceous, bush kind of. So let me go ahead and find a ripe one. Maybe right down at the bottom here, we'll get this guy. Look at that, ripe off the tree. Pisang Ceylon. These are the kind of bananas I want to eat the rest of my life. Seriously, guys. The stuff in the store that most Americans eat as bananas, those things are garbage. Grow your own. They're so much more buttery and flavorful, and they don't taste like cardboard either. All right, so one of the most amazing things here at Bobby's place is that he has 150 varieties of jabaticabas. This rivals some of the top collections in the world because that's all the varieties I think that are available. And this is known as a cambuca, and this is an extra large kind of jabaticaba grown on the stem of the tree. He also has got many different kinds of different red ones and many different kinds, different colors, whites and reds, and the standard kind of like purplish ones. It's amazing that he's collected all these from literally all over the world. He actually has an import permit to import some of these plants. While some of these are outside here in Florida, he also has many inside his greenhouses that we're gonna go into in a second. All right, guys, so you may not think this is super special, and at present time, I don't think it's super special either, but this is actually known as the Asian Palmyra palm, also known as the Toddy palm. This is an ultra tropical, and after I'm sitting on this mulch, I know I shouldn't be doing that because it really sinks in. He has nice fluffy soil. Believe it or not, these palms are 10 years old. And according to Bobby, nobody's been able to make these fruit here in Florida because it's ultra tropical. And one of the secrets I'll give you guys up right now is that if you just have one, it's not gonna make fruit because you need a male and female. So he has 3 different ones. He has some males and some females. He also planted some African, Palmyra palms and some babies from seed that he has that are from India that are 3 years old now. So hopefully he'll maybe be the first one here in Florida to fruit these. And the fruits have many uses, from the inside jelly to the outside that could be eaten to fermenting it into the alcoholic toddy drink that's drink around the world. All right, so next I want to take you guys into the greenhouse, and this is where it even has more trees because a lot of trees are like little baby trees in the pots. And look at this. He has like 6 different greenhouses. These are 4 of them. And in this particular greenhouse, he cools them with a water cooling wall right there, right? In the winter, he has to heat them up, and in the summer, he needs to cool them down. So he's got humidity, heating, and cooling in there, and he's got like 20,000 square feet under cover here. So that's almost a half an acre of greenhouse space he has for his personal own just hobby. He's not even selling trees. I went in there, I'm like, what, you selling trees? He's like, no, this is my hobby. I want to select the best trees, and maybe I might sell maybe a few, but I want to grow the best ones out, and those are the ones I'm going to try to plant outside or do whatever, experiment with, right? And here's the thing, he has a lot of extra trees because sometimes he's going to experiment with them and they're not going to make it, so he's better have some backups. So let's go inside and see what he's growing inside the greenhouse. All right, so now I want to take you guys into one of the greenhouses. He has 2 greenhouses. The one I just showed you, the big one, is on this side, and this is the one that is heated and cooled and humidified. And then he has this one, which is the first one he put up. This one he just has over cover. And here's the thing, guys, like if you guys are trying to grow some tropicals in a non-tropical environment, or even subtropicals in a non-subtropical environment, the most important thing I've learned on this trip is that it is the wind. You gotta protect your plants from the wind, because even though it might be 35 degrees outside and the plants could handle that, these tropical trees could handle that, what they can't handle is the wind chill factor. So when there's 35 and now the wind's blowing, it gets even colder. So just putting up this greenhouse over it without even heating or cooling this side, he's able to grow many different tropical trees inside that aren't too specific to the humidity, because it is rather hot in there this time of year in June. So let's head inside and show you guys some of the cool plants. All right, so you guys can see he's got some guavas here. He's got 40 different varieties of guavas, and the new thing that I've learned this trip, right? Bobby is a wealth of information. I learned that there's seedless guavas. How many of you guys would eat guavas, but you don't because all the seeds are hard and you'll break your teeth and you have to swallow them and they go right through and come out in your poop? This is a seedless guava from like Taiwan. He has a bunch of different seedless varieties. I'm like, wow, they make seedless guavas. That's amazing, because I just bought property in Puerto Rico, and you guys don't know, 3 acres, and I'm gonna be growing seedless guavas. Maybe I might even get some of my plants from Bobby to grow there. It's gonna be amazing. Seedless guavas, who would have thought? All right, so another cool thing, and I've seen this tree over in Hawaii, but not in Florida. This is known as the Pedalai in the Autocarpus family. It has a white flesh, tastes like vanilla, and you guys could see maybe at some point it didn't make it. He chopped it back, and then basically it started sprouting up again. And look at this, it's like almost 12 feet tall. This is ultra rare to have here in Florida, and his tree is doing quite well. All right, the next tree I want to show you guys is actually a tree that I had in the Caribbean when I took a cruise, and I think I stopped on St. Lucia and toured a botanical garden. They showed me the nutmeg tree, right? Ultra tropical. He's growing it right here. Once again, like on this tree, I could see, all right, what's going on? You could see it got damaged, and it basically it died back during the winter at one point. He had to cut it back, but you guys can see it's now got nice full growth on the tree. Lots of nice large leaves that he could use for the nutmeg that'll grow the little spice. And then let's see, check out behind this. Look at this cacao tree, guys. It's like almost like 20 feet tall right up there. And if we go inside, he's got lots of cacao making the fruit here in South Florida, which is rare. I've never seen fruiting cacao in Florida. Only reason for this, in my opinion, is because he's got it under cover to protect it from the winter. It doesn't need like super high humidity, and it's growing lots of cacao here in Florida, which is cool. All right, so now we're gonna head into the big greenhouse. It's on this slider, and he has a few signs. Chevy truck parking. I guess he really loves Chevys. I may be wrong, but I doubt it. That's because, like, what? He may be wrong about growing these fruit trees, but he doubts it because he thinks he's gonna be successful. And it says, no trespassing, do not even think about entering, you will be shot. So yes, he's got guns, guys. Don't try to come here, rob his plants. And check it out. Inside here, he's got a lot of cool things. This is a mangosteen tree. Look how big this is. In a nice, huge pot, protected. When you guys walk in here, you're just gonna feel the humidity go up about 10, 20 points, man. It's really humid in here. And you guys can see, look at this. This is his personal nursery for all his ultra-tropical trees. Some of them will end up outside, but most of them will live their whole lives inside here because it will not take the Florida extreme temperatures, right? Many people think, oh, the problem with growing tropicals, ultra-tropicals in Florida is the wintertime when it freezes. Well, yes, that's one of the problems, but I also learned today that the ultra-tropicals don't like it too hot and they don't like it too cold. Think about it, at the equator, it's pretty much equidistant from the sun and has a similar temperature range all year long, whereas Florida will get a little bit, farther from the sun in the winter, get colder and closer to the sun in the summer, and get hotter than the ultra tropics near the equator. So he's growing lots of different amazing things in here. First, I want to go to this little section here, right? This guy loves his durians. He's from India. And you guys can see he's got all these little durian plants going on. Now, if he just took these durians and planted them outside, they might make it during the summer, it might get burned, but he's growing them inside. So he has lots of different durians. These are all from seed. And then what he does is he has an import permit that he'll import durians from Thailand, and then basically he'll, bare rooted, he'll cut them off and then graft them onto his seedlings over here. Once they grow up a little bit taller, then he'll transplant them into these air layering pots right here, and he's got his taller durians that, hopefully one day he'll have in big containers inside here fruiting, and he'll have the probably first fruiting or flowering durians here in the state of Florida. All right, next thing I want to show you guys is actually his watering system, right? He has overhead sprayers, so this simulates like the rainforest in Southeast Asia and whatnot. It also helps to rise the humidity up aside from his water walls that actually also add some humidity to this room. The other thing that's very important is, the soil and the pH of the soil as well as the water. The watering all the time, like I live in the desert, I have a very alkaline water. So when I'm watering, I could be alkalinizing the soil, making the, the pH go up. And the tropical trees love a more acid soil, so he has to bring the pH down on his water. So what he has this intricate system where the water comes in and it goes through different kinds of filtration. He also has an injector so he can inject different kinds of things into the water. He has some of them over here like magnesium sulfate. He has this special one over here. Check this out. This can be quite dangerous. Nitric oxide he adds to bring the pH down. And he could also inject things like the kelp, liquid kelp in there as well. And I want to show you guys this. He set up a little meter here. This is the meter that shows the pH of the water that's coming out of his system. So the water goes in like at a pH 7 and it comes out at pH 6.5. He's gone through many different means to basically make his tropical fruit, dream here in South Florida a reality, including paying particular attention to the water as well as the climate for his literally thousands of babies that are sitting in front of me. All right, so another really cool plant that I want to show you guys is the Pulasan. Now I've seen these in Hawaii, but having them here in Florida is quite rare. These are in 65 gallons that he's put holes in to have kind of like an air layering and get more aeration to the roots. And you guys can see he grew these from a seed, and they're like 5 years old now, maybe like pushing over 6 feet tall, looking nice here in the climate control greenhouse that we are basically sweating up a storm in. All right, so the final shot inside the climate control greenhouse is just I want to show you guys an overview. I mean, look at all the plants. He has them all grouped. So like these are certain plants, these are babies of the plants, these are bigger ones of the plants. He has so many different plants in here. To me, this straight up looks like a plant nursery that he's like grown up to sell, but this is just his personal collection. right? Once again, I want you guys always to plant extra. He plants extra in case something happens. Sometimes the seedlings don't sprout up. Sometimes some of them die. Some are more healthy than others. And of course, he'll let them all grow up. And then he's going to choose the healthiest ones to pot up and grow bigger. Maybe 20% of them he might end up selling if he ends up not needing them. So he puts lots of time and attention and care into growing all these amazing fruit trees. I think the last part of this episode is I want to go ahead and share with you guys some of the organic amendments that he uses to make this happen. Because if you just use an NPK fertilizer, you're not going to give your plant everything it needs to be successful like Bobby does here. All right, so you guys can see many of the different nutrients and organic amendments that Bobby uses to grow everything. There's so many different things here. We got the crab meal. You know, I just learned that it's actually high in copper and zinc. Then, of course, he's got the mycorrhizae fungi. Very important to basically get some fungi onto your roots so that your roots will absorb and create a nice root zone environment for all the microbes. He's got the granular humic acid powder. I use that also, good for some trace minerals, adds with the carbon to help make the whole food soil web work better. He's got the fish bone meal, 3-16-0. He's got the potassium, magnesium, K-Mag here. Over here he's got the green sand, good for different minerals. Of course, he's got my favorite, the azomite, the rock dust. He also has different kinds of rock dust that he adds as well. He's got the Alaska fish fertilizer. Tell you guys the cheapest place to buy this is actually at Walmart near you. You know, sometimes when he has some pest outbreaks, he'll spray this stuff, Monterey Horticultural Oil, OMRI certified. He also has the Organicide. I've used this in the past myself for some pests as needed for outbreaks. Of course, one of his favorite things to use is the liquid kelp that he uses as well. Oh, and then he also adds additional trace minerals as required by the plant. Sometimes things like zinc. He's got some cool stuff. This is cobalt. It's actually nice and pink. This is just a straight, cobalt that he'll add in. He's also got molybdenum. Many people don't realize that some of these trace minerals are required by the plants in super small amounts, and that can be the reason for success or for failure. So you really need to dial it in. Some of these, you don't add the whole bag to a tree, guys. You literally take one pinch. So there's just a little bit in there, right? But all these can be required. Some of them can be gotten from things like rock dust and green sand, but some of them you might need to add a little bit more than what is naturally in the rock dust and green sand. So he does a lot of different things to make growing possible here in Florida, some of the trees that are not normally grown. So the last thing I want to do is we're going to go ahead and interview Bobby, and we're going to ask him some questions about why he grows all these trees and erected literally half an acre greenhouse and puts all his time and effort when he's not working pretty much into this amazing personal collection homestead. So now I have the pleasure of interviewing Bobby for you guys, the guy that literally made all this happen. He planted every single fruit tree you guys seen, over like 3,000 on the property, including all the little transplants in his greenhouse. And we're gonna find out what makes him tick. Why did he decide to grow over 3,000 fruit trees here in South Florida? So Bobby, the question is, I know you just started gardening like literally 4.5 years ago. You never grew anything else in your life. Why did you decide to start growing some food and the fruit trees here in Florida?
So I moved here 5 years ago. The whole place was kind of run with pine trees. And I wanted a retreat from the daily hassles of work. So I was working as a software engineer in New York, Atlanta, California. And I wanted something that reminds me of my home back in India, where I'm used to seeing a little coconut trees, mango trees, and a few buffaloes hanging around, a few goats and chickens. So initially I just wanted a big land. That way I can keep some buffaloes and also some goats for their milk. And definitely some coconuts, because I love coconuts. I can climb coconut trees. I wanted a few coconuts and a few mangoes and some buffaloes and goats. That's it. Later down the road, when we had a baby, the buffaloes were kind of they were not, at that point, up until then, I'm not into gardening. I just planted a few coconuts and a few mangoes, and that's it. I definitely watched your videos, and it was very inspiring, you and many other people. But when the baby came, the buffaloes had to go, and that's when I started like, well, what am I going to do with this 5 acres? And then I see everybody's growing here, and the tropical fruits are delicious. And back then, I didn't even like durians or mangosteens or anything like that.
Wow.
So the durians you see are like a newer thing, like in like couple of years, 2-3 years older. So anyway, so I started one tree, and then it became like 5 trees, and then it became like, okay, I don't have that. Do you have this mango called like a Super Alfonso? I'm like, no. Oh, you buy that one. One thing leads to another, and now I have like all different mango species, like the Mangifera Parang and the Casturi mango, horse mango, you name it. I got all this, and it's very interesting to be connected to nature and touch the soil, walk barefoot on the soil, and then play with the dirt, climb trees, go and check your trees. That's why I have a path there too, so I really like to be with the nature rather than sit inside an office. I like to be in the sun. I like to touch soil. So that's why I planted all my trees. I really liked it so much. I mean, naturally, my body liked it, obviously. And that's why I, when I'm not working, I'm actually in my break, I would go and plant a tree. And in the night, I would plant trees. So everything is planted by me. And I felt that was more fun, which is like more work for most people. That was more fun than, doing the day job, sitting in the computer. So that's the thing. I mean, I really love doing it. And then I may not eat all these fruits, but just looking at these trees, especially when I planted it myself, gives you a sense of like some kind of an accomplishment. Like you did something because you planted it with your hand, and it grew big. It's almost like the tree is talking back to you when it's fruiting, right? So it's in a way that you get connected to the tree. And even if you don't eat the fruits, like I'm not going to be eating all these fruits, but it still makes you connected to the tree, and it's a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, one of the most things that I like the most is just seeing his daughter. He's a 3-year-old daughter right now, and she's just walking around, and like, I couldn't find a ripe jabaticaba here today, but she just like turns up and she's like, she has a ripe jabaticaba, and then she eats it. And that's just really, I mean, your daughter could just walk the land and just find ripe fruits to eat and eat them. And so you're really like teaching her like, hey, food comes from nature, so that she will appreciate some of these fruits and things that she's eaten since a child versus like Americanizing her and getting her fast food and McDonald's and junk food. So I really like that, and I look forward to having children one day that are harvesting fruits and things and vegetables from the garden and eating them. So the question for you I have, Bobby, is, you're from India, your wife is actually from Thailand. Why don't you just buy property in Thailand or India to do this? Because growing durians in South Thailand or in India surely has to be a lot easier than growing them here in South Florida.
It's not you. It's like every 10 people I meet, like 9 of them ask me that same question. Like, you like durian, you like mangosteen. Why aren't you growing them in Hawaii? Why don't you move to Hawaii? I mean, it's still in America. You still can technically do the work. Or you can sell it, everything, and move to Thailand or India, where actually I have land in Thailand. I did have some durians and mangosteens planted in Thailand. The simple answer to the question is, if I move to Hawaii or Thailand, why would I grow durian or mangosteen? I would go to an organic farm next to me, let them do the hard work, and then I would say, hey, let me pick one. So I would just pick trees, and then the value, the connection that you have with the tree, because it was so easily derived.
Yes.
It grew like without much input of me, without me adding all the nitric acid and all that humidification and all that effort, because I didn't put any effort into it. I would take that for granted and not enjoy it that much. Having a tree in Florida gives me a lot more enjoyment, and I don't eat all that durian. I mean, even if I move to Hawaii, I'm not going to eat I'm not a big into fruits. Many people think I eat a lot of fruits. I don't. I eat a moderate amount of fruit. I don't eat a lot of fruit. So I grow the tree because I love trees. I like climbing trees. I like the challenge of growing them. I don't want just the results of the fruits. I want the journey. I want to enjoy the journey. And that's one reason. Like, if I see a durian tree in Florida or a mangosteen tree in Florida that's like 20 feet tall, like that's how high the greenhouse is at the center is 20 feet, I would want to take my bed under that tree and sleep under the durian tree and have 100 times more enjoyment knowing that nobody else has a 20-foot tall durian that they can sleep under. 100 times more fun than I would in a fruiting tree in Thailand or Hawaii or Puerto Rico. I would not enjoy at all. Like if I'm in Thailand, if you show me a durian tree, I'm like, okay,
it's so common because it's so easy to grow.
Yeah, but if it's in Florida, and especially with all the effort I put into growing it, like if it grew by itself, then no. But if I put all the effort and then I grew it, I would absolutely sleep under the tree, and that would give me more pleasure than eating the fruit.
Wow, amazing. So it's like partly the challenge. It's like when you're a single guy and trying to pick up a girl at a bar or something. you're a married guy trying to like grow some durian trees in your greenhouse.
Artificially creating a challenge.
Yeah. But it's good to keep, that keeps us excited about life, and like it gives us a goal and more importantly a purpose, right? A purpose to connect with nature, something that most people, especially in the tech world, are totally disconnected from nature because a lot of people unfortunately in tech maybe eat a poor diet because they're behind the computer because they're working all the time and they don't want to deal with making food and they don't value the connection with the food. They just order the takeout from Uber Eats or whatever, right? And so I really admire that about you, and I want to encourage you guys that are watching this to have a connection with your food, whatever it is. Hey, if you're gonna eat some meat, right, raise your own goats like Bobby does here and harvest one once in a while to eat, grow your own fruits, grow your own vegetables, to be have a better connection with nature, and then you'll appreciate the food more. And one of the things I strive to do is live in gratitude each day that I wake up because I'm just happy to be alive. But more importantly, especially when I get to sample some of your amazing mangoes here and varieties I don't get on the West Coast, that's just a real treat to me to be able to do that. So thank you. Mm-hmm. So I want to help some people that are watching this that are in Florida here. Like, what would you say? Like, are some of the, because you've grown so many varieties, like 1,500 varieties of fruit trees, like what are the top 5 easiest fruit trees, any kind, that that are easy to grow, that are reliably producing for you year after year, that you would recommend people that don't want to have the challenge to grow?
So if you want a food value without putting a lot of effort into it, you want mangoes, very much pest resistant. Maybe once in a while you have to spray a little bit with copper or organic something for the anthracnose or powdery mildew. But that's the only thing. Mango would be the number one. Sapodilla would be really amazing. Very little, almost no pests, grows by itself. Fruits reliably, heavy fruiter. Some of the varieties I would recommend on Sapodilla would be Alano, Molix, Hacia, Butterscotch, a few of those. Mango, I don't want to go into controversy because everyone has their favorite mangoes. Third one would be like a jackfruit. Believe it or not, it has a lot of food values. You can eat the fruit green, you can cook it if you don't want all that sugar, or you can harvest it ripe. It's amazing. There are 100 varieties of jackfruit.
Yeah, you could boil the seeds to eat as nuts.
Exactly, tastes like a chestnut.
Yes.
And then you can have a softer jackfruit, more on the Chempejack hybrid side, which also grows in South Florida. But if you're in the central to South Florida, you may want to stick with jackfruits. That's the third one. The fourth one would be lychees and longans, actually. Many people think that lychees and longans don't fruit well here because they didn't get the chill hours. Actually, that's a misconception. Lychees fruit well in the tropics. There is no cold in the tropics, like Thailand, India, Hawaii fruits, like good variety lychees like Sweetheart. Zero frost, zero cold out, chill hours, but still lychee fruits. The secret is you don't want to water them. After like August or September, you cut the water. That concentrates the minerals. So when it comes time to flower, it's not sucking up water and then diluting it and not be able to have the nutrients for the flower. The drought actually helps the flower spikes and also concentrates the potassium that a higher concentration. So when the water leaves the surface of the leaves, it sucks up more nutrition through the leaves. And now you have so durians is another example. I'm not telling people to plant durians, but when you give it drought, enough no watering, right, like 3 to 6 months before when it typically flowers, 3 to 6 months before that, you cut the water. Like, I mean, if it rains, it rains. You can't do anything about it. But you stop watering, that's going to concentrate the minerals and push and stress the tree into flowering and have the nutrients for it to be available to flower. And when it starts the flowering though, you water the daylight out of it. You have to water daily. Now you switch gears. If you do that, you're going to have fruits on lychees as well as durians if you can get it to flower to first place. But lychees is one of those that you want to dehydrate it the later, like August, September onwards, you dehydrate it. And then September to October, you want to hit it with some potassium, high potassium fertilizer. So it has that, but it's not going to grow in sand, not going to fruit with no minerals. And then in spring, when it starts to flower, you water it daily, and then you're going to see results. Lychee would be the fourth one, high food value, delicious. Longan would be the other one. Then the fifth one, if you're in South Florida, definitely coconuts. You can't go wrong with coconuts or avocados. So I would class, because those are like more on the fatty kind of a food. So I would include avocados and coconuts in the fifth rank.
So the next question is, what 3 tips do you guys want to give fruit growers that are watching this video? Because, you know, you learn tips about watering, like water during flower, then cut back, and maybe give some minerals, you know, to get that to produce reliably. What are the 3 tips did you learn over the time you've been growing the fruit trees here that have really helped you out a lot?
So the first thing is be organic. I don't put any NPKs, because any NPKs comes with a potassium nitrite, or those are preservatives used in baking. I don't want to use that. It kills all the microbiomes. So be organic. So manure or whatever you can find, scraps, leaves, mulch. Stay organic. Add the minerals like potassium, magnesium. Those are OMRI listed. So that's the number 1 tip. So you're going to have a healthy soil. The fruit is going to taste better. It's going to be good for you. You're not going to have any reactions by touching or playing with the soils. Like I play with the soil and the manure up to here. I mean, I touch lion feces sometimes too, and it doesn't bother. Like no reaction, nothing at all. Like I don't even feel if a bee bites me. I'm pretty much immune to allergies or anything. No allergies, nothing. Even bee bites don't bother me at all. But so that's the number 1 tip. And then number 2 is you got to understand each tree's cycle of how they like the watering. Like some trees like a little bit of watering every day. Some trees, like a citrus, some trees has a distinct wet dry period. So understanding that and watering it accordingly would be the really, I mean, you can't have one plant fits all. Like you have to have
different like irrigation lines, because one, you can't water all your trees the same amount, because some trees might like less or more. I mean, think about like trees growing in nature have wet and dry seasons, right?
Exactly. And then the third tip would be you have to prune your trees.
Prune.
Yeah, if you don't prune, there's like many disadvantages to that. First of all, the tree is going to put all his energy into the wood and the leaves. You want to prune it to remove the nitrogen, because when you prune it, it starts growing again, which is not a bad thing, but then it grows and then it loses all the nitrogens and it cannot grow anymore. So when you prune a tree, you send a signal for it to grow. And many people think that's a bad idea because, oh, you're going to make it grow. Well, yes, I'm going to make it grow, but I'm not pruning when it's about to fruit. I'm pruning when it's done fruiting. So like in August, when it's done fruiting, I'm going to prune all my mangoes with the fruit. So now the tree is going to grow. I want it to grow. It's going to grow. By spring next year, it has spent all its energy into growing.
And now it could use that energy to grow fruits and
so
flowers.
So now it has, you're going to, basically the idea of pruning is to lower the nitrogen content of the tree. Because if it has left nitrogen, like bigger branches and leaves, it's going to use that to push more growth. Once you remove the nitrogen, now it has no choice but to fruit. And only thing you need to fertilize it with is potassium or phosphorus. You don't want to add any nitrogen. And then the tree has no choice but to fruit. And plus it stresses the tree out. When it stresses out, it wants to fruit. So you're going to produce way more fruits. The tree is going to be shorter, which means more hurricane resistant. A bigger tree is going to get torqued. It's going to fall over. With shorter trees, they're connected to each other, and the wind is going to just pass through over it, and it's going to be pretty much wind stable. So those are the 2 reasons. Pruning, organic, and the other thing is proper watering.
They're in the cycles of the tree for the proper watering. Perfect. Wonderful. All right, so I know you collected fruits from all over the world and even have like a USDA import permit. What are the 3 like fruit trees that you're most proud of having that are really ultra rare that many collectors in the world don't even have?
Yeah, so I do import trees. I have a USDA import permit of both plants and seeds, and it's easy to get. It's free of cost. You can Google it. The only thing is it has to be bare rooted. So the three things I'm proud of is a blackthorn durian. Like nobody has this as far as I know, including Hawaii and Puerto Rico. Nobody has that durian, and it's not something that nobody has and nobody cares. It's something that nobody has, but everybody cares. It's the best durian.
Really?
It's the most expensive durian on the planet, and that too of the king of the fruits. So blackthorn, rainbow durian is two of my favorites. So hard to get. I mean, I spent so much money, and they keep on dying. I was able to successfully graft like a couple of them, and then regraft from those. Those would be the top two durians. Some baccalaureas, like the green fruits. In the greenhouse there's some. It's like a sweet and sour. I've had them in South Thailand. They're really amazing. Some of those I was able to get cuttings off of import, and then graft them myself on seedlings. So those are good. Some of my prized trees. Some variegated jaboticabas with fruits on them. Those were some of those things I was able to import. Doesn't really grow here, so pretty much I mean there's many others I can talk about, but those would be something I'm proud about.
Wonderful. So I guess one of the final questions, because I got to run today, is what would you say to people that want to start doing what you're doing? Like, man, I want to have a place like Bobby one day. Like, what would you tell them as advice?
I would say you have to follow your passion. Because you don't want to necessarily do exactly what I'm doing. If you are doing, let's say you want to grow tropical fruits, start with things that grow well here first.
Like so easy stuff.
You have to grow the easy stuff first. I mean, don't start with a durian tree. Start with, tropical trees, butter mangoes, coconuts, and you get to enjoy those. Keep in mind, growing durians or ultra tropical, what I'm doing, is actually not only challenging to acquire those trees, but it's and also to keep them alive, but it's also can be expensive.
Right.
So these are if you are on a budget, or if you want to keep the price low, you want to stay away from growing. I mean, it's going to be a monumental challenge, and I want to be honest with everyone and not encourage you to grow a durian and you bringing it inside your bedroom in the winter and putting it outside in the summer in the summer, and that's fine. Many people do that, but I would advise you not to do that, because what's going to happen is the inside the house is too dry and you're going to end up killing the tree and it's not going to fruit. I mean, I've done that from experience. I can tell you, I bring trees inside my garage. I have killed several eight-year-old durians that I had obtained, like a seedling durians that were like
all it takes is one night, gone.
So until you have built a proper greenhouse, I would stay away from growing durians at least, because you're going to be wasting your money on that. Just do your, the trees you love doing, follow your passion, do what you like doing, and then if you really want to grow durians, then I would say save the money and then build a greenhouse or move to somewhere tropical.
Yeah, I mean, I just bought 3 acres in Puerto Rico, so maybe buy a place in Puerto Rico or Hawaii or somewhere else tropical where it's going to be a lot easier because it's going to be a lot less work. All right. So the final question for you today, Bobby, is what final tips or words of wisdom do you want to share with my viewers today about, growing fruit trees or gardening or whatever?
Like I was telling before, the whole purpose of gardening is to be connected to nature. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to necessarily look for the fruit. You want to, while that's fun. It's the
process. It's the whole process.
You have to enjoy the process. I mean, I do everything to get fruits. I mean, from pruning to adding, spraying them with foliar spraying and all that. But unless you enjoy doing those, you really not going to enjoy the fruits either. You really want to be connected to nature and plant all your trees by yourself, dig the holes yourself, prune them yourself, remove the bugs with your hands. And I'm sure John does that. I've seen his videos. And
I'm out in the garden every day. I mean, I'm not even producing that much content these days. I'm out in the garden, actually the day before this trip, actually the day of the trip, I left at like 2 p.m. All morning I was planting like 75 transplants I need to get in the ground so they don't lose their lives while I'm on this trip.
So life is a process, right?
Yeah.
Like we live, it's a process. It's not goal. Like who knows what the end goal is, right? We might all be dead by some point, but the real purpose of life is to enjoy every single day.
Yes.
Like not when your tree is fruiting, but even when it's not fruiting, you have to enjoy the tree. And the only way to do that is to go to the tree, plant it yourself, look at the tree, touch it, and you have to really enjoy the tree. And that's why I'm growing fruit trees. I could go and buy a fruit, like if I want to, but that's not the purpose. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it did. Great. Yeah, so I'd recommend to you guys out there, like, right, if you guys aren't enjoying the process and you hate gardening, but you're doing it because you think you should or something, right? Man, do yourself a favor. Stop gardening. Get another hobby. Go out and buy exotic fruit. And I'm going to tell you guys, when I come to Florida, I'm like, I got to sit down at some of the prices. Like, some of these exotic mangoes sell for like $5 a pound. I mean, I was at a store earlier that has imported mangoes. They're selling some crappy imported mangoes, 3 for $1. But these are like $5 a pound. And then people, I mean, when you spend more money on something, hopefully you appreciate it more. But when you guys have trees, you appreciate it a lot more than just buying it. Of course, I also have to mention that when you guys grow your own trees, you get to select the ripeness. Some people like to harvest the mangoes a little bit underripe and then let them ripen on the counter. They taste a little bit different than if you let them get too soft and then they're maybe a little bit on the fermented side. But, I would encourage you guys to empower yourselves by growing your own fruit trees, to be connected with nature, and more importantly, like Bobby says, enjoy the process. That's why I garden. I love doing it. I mean, what else am I going to do with my time? Go to bars, to watch sports? Like, I wouldn't enjoy that stuff. My brother enjoys that stuff. He doesn't garden. I'd rather be gardening and growing my own food and have the satisfaction. Every time I harvest greens out of my garden, when I harvest fruits out of my garden, I'm eating them. I'm like, man, these taste so much better than anything money can buy. Right? And hopefully you guys get that too. And hopefully you guys already have a bunch of fruit trees. And if not, after watching this video, hopefully it's motivated you a little bit to grow more fruit trees wherever you are. If you're here in the tropics, grow some of those easy ones that Bobby said. And, in the end of this episode, I really want to encourage you guys to grow more food and get connected to nature. All right? So that's all I'm going to say today. If you guys enjoyed this episode today here at Bobby's 5 Acres amazing place in South Florida, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Also, more importantly, be sure to share this with other people on how he literally grows over 1,500 varieties here in Florida on 5 acres, including some extreme ultra tropicals that I've never seen grown here. Some super rare ones as well. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes that are coming every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. I have many more videos coming out from this trip in Florida that I don't want you guys to miss out. So make sure you click the bells to get notified as many videos come out. And finally, be sure to check out past episodes. The past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. I'll put some of the links down below to some of my favorite videos I've made in the past in Florida to show you guys some of you guys that are Floridians on how to grow more food in Florida. So with that, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep on growing.